Pittsburgh Steelers getting it done defensively in Cleveland. A toughness and intensity that Mike Tomlin, I don't think simply hinted at on Tuesday when he got asked about the USC job. It was obvious. He's salty. He's focused. And I said this last week, Mike, I have a feeling he just wasn't that way on Tuesday at the press conference. He was that way all week. They had 2 weeks to get ready for this game, this opportunity to settle the score with the Browns from the playoffs of last year, and really complete this early season turnaround from 1-3 to 4-3, and now we got to take this team seriously. We had them buried in September, and they are very much alive in November.
Oh, there is no question that they are. Listen, I love Mike Tomlin. I am a fan of Mike Tomlin. He's like one of those dads that can get his point across with a stare. And his talk about the USC job was just fantastic. But he gives you that look that you just, you know, I remember covering games when I was done and covering like a Giants game, and Bill Parcells post game conference. He would just kind of give you that kind of quizzical look like, are you serious with that stupid question? Mike Tomlin gives you a look like you're going to swallow your heart and you shouldn't talk anymore. And the players love him. He's so well respected. And there's just an era of toughness around him that exuded through the team. And you're right. This was a team, I had said early on, they don't score enough points to be a threat in the AFC, but they do have a tough defense. Well, the offense is coming alive a little better. They're still not an unbelievable juggernaut on offense, but when the defense can do what they're doing, it's going to keep them in games. And now this division is unbelievably tight. It's going to be the most competitive division there is in all the NFL, and Pittsburgh has put themselves right back into it.
And Pittsburgh had to do it the hard way thanks to a fake field goal that went awry and caused their kicker to be out for the remainder of the game. And, you know, Mike, this is a point that Tony Dungy made yesterday, and it's an important one. Roughing the passer, it gets called based on who the passer is, doesn't it? Because if that's a real quarterback, that's a flag. And that's a fresh set of downs, and maybe it's a touchdown. But there you see the helmet contact, throwing him to the ground. He's concussed. He's out for the game. He's got the same protections in that moment that any quarterback would have. But since he's not a quarterback, they aren't as quick to grab the flag as they do when somebody breathes on the quarterback the wrong way and they throw the flag.
So two things. First, you're exactly right. Referees are human as well, and when they see it being a quarterback, they are more apt to, throw the flag first and worry later. But I will say, in the context of whether it was a quarterback or not, and I know in today's world they call it, I would not have called that roughing the passer. You get a step. It used to be more than that. They've taken that away. There was no more than a step, and he shoved him with his hands. It wasn't like he drove his helmet into him and he landed on him. You got to still be able to have some effect on somebody. So I wouldn't have called it even if it was Tom Brady. But to your point, it absolutely would have gotten called, I think, if it was a normal quarterback. You heard the referee say after the game, we didn't think it rose to the level of roughing the passer. Well, we have seen, and I saw it yesterday in my game, a call on roughing the passer, which was one of the worst roughing the passer calls I've ever seen in my life. So this one, compared to the one I saw last night, that one on Boswell should have had the defender jailed, the way sometimes they call them. But in my opinion, Mike, overall, I do not think that was roughing the kicker, roughing the passer, roughing whoever with the hit. But man, did Boswell get launched in that. And then unfortunately, his head hit the ground when he hit the ground. And that was a shame because you're going with no kicker the entire second half.
And here's the reality. When you're 6'2" and 185, that's what's going to happen to you when an NFL defensive lineman shoves you. It's not going to happen to a guy who's 6'5" and 230. You're 6'2", you're 185. You're going to get thrown around like a kite on a day like that when you take a hit like that. But I still see some helmet contact up top. Just the force that we have seen that the results drive the flag. And if it looks right, if it just looks like it was too big of a hit, the flag comes out. And I think that if it had been a quarterback in a normal play, that we saw that kind of hit and that kind of movement and that kind of result, it would have been a flag just because we see these flags get thrown because, personal foul, playing football, number 56, 15 yards. That's just, you saw that last night. You're talking about the hit on
yes.
Kirk Cousins that should not have been roughing the passer.
Yeah. But in the Mike Golic rule book, that was not roughing the kicker or the passer. But my rule book, I think, is a little different than probably the one that's real.
Well, what happened was because Chris Boswell wasn't available, Steelers had to go for it on fourth down. That led to the play of the game, the go-ahead touchdown. Ben Roethlisberger throwing the pump underneath, given a little more time for Pat Freiermuth, who had a DB on him, and Freiermuth made a great catch at the back of the end zone, bobbles the ball, gets the feet in, drags the left foot, touchdown. I talked to him about it after the game. And, I said, what kind of drills do you do to, be able to do that? And he said, hey, we just work at practice, work extra at practice, all these, back of the end zone, making sure you get your feet in. You see how the body works in unison. It's almost like a one-man band with all the different things you got to do to secure the ball, catch it, tuck it, and then make sure that you have the presence of mind to get that second foot down. Great move by Freiermuth, who's really emerging as an important weapon in that offense as a rookie, Mike.
I thought it would. Listen, you had the defender and Freiermuth both with hands on one another, so that's a no call to keep the flag in the pocket, and I'm glad they did. And then it's just a fight for the ball. And think about, and it's not a subtle difference, it's a big difference. All these guys in college, when they work in practice, what are they working to do? Get 1 foot in. Now all of a sudden you got to work to get 2 feet in. So I actually think more and more college players just try and get the 2 feet in, because there is a definite difference of just making sure you get one down and not worrying about having to drag the toe of the second foot. You don't have to do that in college. It's a reception. But all of a sudden you get to the league and you got to see, the rubber pellets come up with the toe drag. So what a great job of body control, coming off the defender, bobbling, having the concentration, and getting the foot down. Just a monster play. Certainly Cleveland had time after that to get back in the game, as we'll talk about. And another one, just as Tom Brady stepped up and said, listen, I can't throw that interception. Jarvis Landry, he had a fumble in the game. He had 2 drops. He said, I owe my teammates. I just can't do that to them. He struggled at the end.
You made me wonder about the conversations that happen in college football locker rooms and practice fields. At what point a guy realizes, you know what, I probably should start working on getting that second foot down. It's probably a good idea for me, junior, senior year. I should probably start thinking about trying to get the second foot down, because that's what I'm going to be doing starting next year. And you're right about Jarvis Landry. He's such a key part of that team. He's the heart and soul of that offense. And we take for granted the fact that this is a guy who doesn't make those kinds of mistakes. So when he does, it really is jarring. And this hurts Cleveland, because we're still trying to figure out who they are and what they are and where they're going to be. 4-4 through the first 8 games is not where we thought this Browns team was going to be. And, they had that very important win on the Thursday night against the Broncos. They only won it by 3 points. And it's one of the reasons why I thought the Steelers were going to win this game. I'm just thinking the Browns, like in 2019, we put the bar too high for the Browns. And I think they're still, as an organization, Mike, having a hard time operating with the bar that high.
Well, listen, we know they did something last year they hadn't done since the 1800s. So, of course, everyone's going to get caught up in it. And I think management and coaching staff, I think they've done a great job in putting pieces together. But then it's just now the next thing is, and it's kind of this way with Cincinnati, because you see Cincinnati playing better as well. But then there's the consistency. Then you see some of the old, and you say, that's why we struggled with this team for so long. They look good at times, and will they stay good? And that's when you get deep into the playoffs in the Super Bowl, when you get more consistent. And that's the next step for the Cleveland Browns, and we'll talk about the Bengals as well. It's the next step for them, because anything can happen on a Sunday. But that's what you're looking for. And let's be honest, Baker Mayfield is playing also for a contract. Now, listen, that's a fiery guy. He gets drilled on the sideline. He gets up, and he's trying to rev up the crowd after he runs for a first down. You love his enthusiasm. People just gravitate toward him as a leader of that team as well. But you also need the results. And he got them to the playoffs. He helped get them to the playoffs and get that playoff win. So he's looked to continue that. And there still are questions on if he is a guy long-term that's going to do it. I think eventually he gets paid, but for the Browns, they're going to say, we want to make sure we're going to do this because we went with our backup on Thursday in Case Keenum. We lose this game here. Now they have Cincinnati next week, the only undefeated team, by the way, in divisional play. They're 2-0 right now. So it's a couple of tough games for Cleveland, and already they lost the first one of this quick 2-game divisional stretch.
You know, this is a topic probably for another day, but I really do think there's going to be an impasse between what the Browns are willing to pay Mayfield and what he's going to want. There's going to be a gap there, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And I'm also surprised. You mentioned they hit along the sideline when Mayfield ran for the first down. That just felt like another one of those moments where we're conditioned to see a flag come out, even though there was nothing about it that was late or dirty or unnecessary. But the result was the guy's skidding across the ground into the bench, and he's a quarterback, and you hold your breath and think a flag's going to come out, don't you?
Oh, Mike, I thought for sure a flag was going to come out. Again, in the Mike Golic rule book, that was not, a late hit at all, and I'm glad to see it wasn't called because the refs have been conditioned for that. That's why I don't blame the refs a lot. I don't know all the conversations going on to if it's a hard hit, if it looks like a bad hit, throw the flag, we'll worry about it after. Maybe it now is, hey, let's make sure it fits in what our definition of a late hit is, because that wasn't a late hit. That was a absolutely clean hit on Baker Mayfield. But you're right. Again, he's not a large guy. He goes flying through the air and slides all the way to the bench. I thought 100% a flag is coming out. And then when Baker got up, I thought he was running over the defender to try and get in his face. He runs downfield to try and get the fans motivated. I thought that was very cool, but I'm with you. So there were a couple of calls that we have seen in the past, and we just talked about the two of them, that there have been flags for, and the flag stayed in the pocket. So overall, I'm happy about that, to let some football still and hard hits still be happening on the field.
Yeah, and I think it's incumbent on the league office when they're supervising and working with the officials to really praise the moments where they get it right, because that should motivate the other officials. In the heat of the moment, when you have to make that decision, flag or no flag, you got to make that decision to do the right thing. You have to really hold up examples like this. There's nothing about this. It's just football, and it's a big hit, and big hits happen, but there was nothing illegal, nothing late, nothing improper. He was a runner at that point, right? And it just, he got thrown through the air as a result of the force of the hit. Nothing wrong with that. No limit on how much force you can apply to a clean legal hit in the NFL yet, Mike.
No, listen, I agree. And he's trying to get yards. He's trying to get the first down. And a lot of times people will say, well, you could see he was running to running out of bounds, but he was going for the first down. He's on the field. He's live game. That's just the way it works. You should be allowed to hit him. And we've seen in the past where flags have come out. And at times, Mike, unfortunately, it makes a defense gun shy. And then all you need is one time for the quarterback to look like he's running out of bounds and to make that little juke and keep gaining more yards down the field. And then the defense would be like, well, what the hell are we supposed to do? You don't want us to hit him when he's running out of bounds, so we hold off, and then they try and get extra yards. Can't be that way. You're on the field, you're fair game to get hit.
And we've seen that where they do the little okey-doke at the sideline and pick up another 5-10 yards because the defenders pull up because they're afraid that if they get too close to the quarterback, they're going to get flagged. So it's good that the officials are starting to realize number 6 is no different than number 34 in that instance. And if he's running the ball, he can get hit cleanly and he can get hit hard, and it doesn't matter if it's a quarterback who chooses to do it.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.